Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In this video series, we are going to look at a word adventure game built in React and along with TypeScript. We are going to learn how to write reusable React components, how to use Node.js along with TypeScript, and how to deploy it to GitHub pages. As you can see, this project is already deployed to GitHub pages and is a production build. Let's get started with a small demo. As the page loads, the first question appears. The user has 4 options to choose from. There is a state management applied here where depending on which option you choose, a state can be set. For example, if you pick up a gun state is set. We are also going to make it such that after picking up an item, if we use the item goes away from the inventory. And finally, we are going to end the game with a message. Let's get started with setting up the project. In case you're curious, these are my Node and NPM versions. Here we're going to use create React app to create the project. The second argument is the folder name. As I'm already in the folder, I'm going to use dot and the TypeScript argument. As this is going to take some time, I'm going to cut to the next clip. Now let's install Node.js dependency. We are not directly going to use it, but React is going to use it internally to compile our SCSS files. So the command is npm install Node.js, and we specifically need version 4 because version 5 is not compatible with React right now. It may be compatible in future, you can check that. For now, we just need this one dependency. Now let's clean up the project a bit. I'm going to use VS Code for this project. This is a standard TypeScript layout. I'm going to delete some files which we don't need for this project. We don't need the readme for now. I'm going to delete it. The test files, we don't need the test files either. And the logo. The web vitals files is also not required. And I'm going to delete the app file as well, as we're going to write our own components from scratch so that I can explain it in more detail. And that's all. We don't need this web vitals function called here, so I'm going to delete that as well. And that's all. In the tsconfig, we are going to add a parameter. This is the configuration file for TypeScript to compile a project. So I'm going to add a base URL which is going to point to the src directory. This will allow us to write absolute paths while importing different modules. Now let's start writing our first component. I'm going to make an app folder which will hold our app component. In this, we are going to make 3 files. One is index.tsx, another is app.tsx, and app.scss. The index.tsx is used for exporting the component in an easier way. I'll show you how it works. So let's write our app component first. So I'm going to import React from React. And let's write a functional component. And let's export it. As we are writing in TypeScript, we have to define the type of this variable. So to define a type, we use the colon and we use the inbuilt type called react.fc. This tells TypeScript that this is a React functional component. Now, as you can see, this is already giving me an error and it wants me to return something. As we know that React components have to return some JSX to render. So I'm going to return an empty div. And then it is fixed. Now we are going to import the SCSS file as well to do all the styling. SCSS is a simple way of writing CSS for our components. It gives us a way more flexibility in terms of we can use variables in our CSS to define the colors. Now I'm going to export the component from the index file and not from the component file itself. So the way to do it is like this. This way, if we import the folder itself, we will get access to the component. So here we have our first component written fully. I'm going to make a default SCSS file outside the app folder. This is going to hold our basic styling, like all the colors we are going to use in our web page and all that. I'm going to just copy paste some basic styling. So here I'm setting the padding and margin to 0, and I'm importing a URL. This is a Google Fonts API. I'm using a font called Comforter for this project, and these are SCSS variables. So I can use these variables anywhere in my file, and I will get access to these hexadecimal values. For example, in app.scss, I'm going to import the default file first. And now I will get access to, I forgot to put a semicolon. Yeah. If I'm going to, I can style a div using these variables. For example, if I want to set color, I can set it to dark like this. And this dark color would be taken from this default.scss file. This way I can change all the colors in one file and it will get implemented on all the other SCSS files. I'm going to quickly show you how I got the font from the Google Fonts API. So we will navigate to Google Fonts. And here we can choose any font we like. For example, if I choose this font, I can add the style, whichever style I like, and then I can get this link if we want to directly import it in the HTML, or we can get an import for SCSS. We can use this import statement from here to get that font. Now let's get this app component rendered. So I'm going to quickly start my server using npm start. As this takes time, I'm going to leave this and start coding again. I'm going to remove this example which I used. And now in index.tsx, I'm going to remove this web vitals again. And I don't need this index.css as well. Okay, the server is started and we can see a blank screen popping up here. Now we are going to make some basic styling over here, set up all these components. Now let's code up the JSX for our app component. In the app component, I'm going to make this a multi-line JSX and give a class name of app. Inside the app, the main div, we are going to have a div with a class name of question. This is going to contain the question of a game. And we are going to have another div which is going to contain the options. All right, and in this options div, we are going to have many buttons to click on. Let's do some styling for this component. First of all, I'm going to put some content inside this button, like option 1. We're going to have 4 options for every question. So now let's open the SCSS file for this. First, I'm going to style the app component. I'm going to set the height to 100 view height and the width to the 100 view width. This will spread out the component on the whole page. Then I'm going to set the background color to dark. Here we are using the SCSS variable we had set in the default.scss. Now let's set the display to flex. And let's justify and align the content to center. And align items to center. This will center all our items. As we want the questions and options below each other, we are going to set the flex direction to column. Okay, now let's style the question div. We're going to set the font family to Comforta. This is the font we had imported from Google Fonts, and we are going to set the font size to 44 pixels. We wanted big, and we're going to set the font weight to 700, and we're going to set the color to mid. I'm just going to align text align center. As we are using SCSS, we can nest these styling inside each other depending on the nesting of the HTML. So for example, we have buttons inside this options div, so we can style the buttons inside the option likewise. This is very helpful to us rather than using plain CSS. Let's style the options div. I'm going to set the width to 100% and set the display to grid. We're going to use grid template columns on repeat. We're going to have two columns which use 50% of the width, and we're going to have rows. We're going to have 2 rows with 50% width. Now let's style the buttons. Buttons should have margin. I'm going to use the rem unit for this. Padding is going to be 1 rem. You're going to set the background color to light. I'm going to pick up a box shadow and text shadow from my another screen because it is very hard to type this much. And I'm going to set the border radius to 20 pixels. And I'm going to set the border to 2 pixel solid, and this is going to be semi-light. I've accidentally put the options inside the question div, so this should be outside the question but inside the app. Let's set the font for this button. So we are going to use the same font family. And the font weight is going to be bold. Font size is going to be 30 pixel, and the color is going to be dark. We're going to also set the hover effect for this button. The way to do that in SCSS is to use the ampersand. and the property you want to define. We are going to have background color to be semi-dark, color is going to be light, and border color is going to be semi-light. So when we hover over these buttons, we have these effects applied to it on hover. We are going to define one more CSS property which we have not used yet, and that is going to be disabled. We are going to apply this property to the buttons when they are not allowed to be pressed. So the color would be set to semi-light and background color will be set to semi-dark. I'm going to add a hover property as well. The color set to semi-light, and that's all. So when I apply a disabled class name for any button, that button you won't be able to press that button and the styling would be applied to it. Now let's code the div for an inventory which shows the list of items you have in the game. So we're going to have a div with class name inventory. I'm just going to put a dummy text inside this. So we have it here. Let's apply some CSS to it. So for this we have font family set to comforter and font size set to 30 pixel. We will position this absolutely, and let's set the bottom to 10 pixel and left to 10 pixel and color to mid. And this inventory should be in the app, inside the app, like this. There we have it. This is all the styling we need for this component. In the next video, we are going to look at writing the types for the project, all the types we need to define for this project. Hope you like this video. Press the like button if you like the video and subscribe for more.